Well, I'm extremely worried because racism in France is certainly a latent problem. France's colonial legacy is still very strong, and successive governments have sadly made sure that immigrant communities are largely kept in housing projects on the edge of major cities, for example. So the secular republic is officially colourblind, but there is absolutely no doubt that ethnic minorities have always suffered discrimination in everything from education to jobs, and indeed housing. And what the Taubira outrageous incident shows is that in fact non-white skin or foreign surname continue to be a huge impediment to acceptance and indeed progress within France.
And how seriously should we take that little bit that we heard there? How many people are we talking about? What sort of people are these? Usual suspects of racists that you'll find in any country, or were you surprised to see the kind of people who are engaging in that particular catcalling?
Well, in this particular case, it was a proud group of middle-class school children with their parents who baited the black justice minister. So it's a middle-class white
middle class, yeah.
Indeed, but racism in France is much more deep-seated than that, and in fact, it levitates right up the social scale into seemingly respectable provincial families, like the ones involved in the Angers incident, even into the heart of President François Hollande's nominally left-wing government, and that's why the current socialist government, for example, is making a very clear statement that Roma communities cannot integrate in modern France and should be deported. So that's a sign that racism, pervades and indeed permeates all classes within French society.
Right. Christine Ockrent, how worried are you about it?
I think that what has just been said is unfortunately very true. But I would add another dimension, which is Madame Taubira's talent. She's an extremely talented, brilliant, politically aggressive personality. She is the author of a pillar law dating back a few years about slavery when she was an MP. And since the beginning of the socialist government, she has been one of the prominent figures. And what indeed has been very strange and worrying in these latest episodes is the fact that she's been left very lonely by her own team. And that, it's only until the day before yesterday that indeed Parliament decided to pay her a tribute. And even then, the Conservatives quite stupidly decided not to raise for a standing ovation, which had been belatedly organized by the Socialist Party. But I think the fact that she's so prominent and she has one of the key jobs also in the government adds to the sort of blatant racist blurs, which indeed the gay marriage demonstrations have given way to. I would be a bit more, how could I put it, critical about the scope of those people that we've heard. It's mostly Civitas. Civitas is a sort of ultra-Catholic, very minor group, very close to the Front National.
Not perhaps as mainstream as
no,
implied.
Not mainstream at all. But it's true that the gay marriage issue has stirred up
all sorts of emotions and passions. Nabila Ramdani, I suppose it's interesting that she's a prominent member who clearly attracts a lot of attention, but it's interesting that it does manifest itself in racist chanting. I wonder what the contrast is, or what you find with the contrast with the UK.
Well, the National Front revival in France has been attributed in part to the economic mismanagement of Mr. Hollande's government, and more generally to the perceived corruption of the political establishment in France. And I think it's easy to blame prejudice and antisocial behaviour on a recession, but I think that the roots of French racism are far deeper than that. And unlike Britain, which has changed a lot in the past 2 or 3 decades, France retains a uniquely Gallic form of casual and indeed institutional racism.